Welcome to the Planning Board meeting for the Town of East Fishkill for September 17th, 2024. Will you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll start with the roll call, starting with John Greenan.
John Greenan.
John Giovanoli.
John Eichman.
Richard Campbell.
Ed Miyoshi.
Sarah Bledsoe.
Okay, and thank you. Upcoming meeting dates are October 15th, 2024 and November 19th, 2024. We have minutes for the meeting from August 20th, 2024. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the first item on the agenda is Woodland Estates, also previously known as Twin Creeks.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. David Cooper, partner with the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz, here representing the applicant, Leighton Properties, who's the contract vendee of this 100-acre parcel along Route 376. They are proposing a planned residential development consisting of 468 units. Woodland Estates is the brand name. Be contained within 23 multifamily buildings. We were before you a couple months ago to give you the kickoff, and then I know your board declared its intent to serve as lead agency. We're here tonight on some procedural steps to start the secret process. With me is Terry Hahn from LADA, the project planner. What we were asking the board tonight to do is to take three steps. One is to declare itself lead agency. The 30 days period has passed since you've notified potential lead agencies that if your intent to serve as lead agency, to issue a positive declaration, which would require an EIS under the PRD regulations. We anticipate that an EIS is required, so we anticipate that an EIS is required, or we'd be preparing one. But in order for us to start doing that, a positive declaration has to be issued. And then the first step in the secret process would be to prepare a scope, which is the table of contents for the EIS. That requires, under the updated secret regulations, a public hearing on a draft scope. And so what we would just ask tonight is if the board would schedule the public hearing for the scope. Our suggestion would be in November, because we can give you a draft scope probably by October to take a look at and consider with staff and edit as we go back and forth. It should be ready for a public hearing by November. But those are really the three procedural steps we're here for tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. Do any of the board members or professionals have any questions before we go into a resolution? If not, we do have a resolution declaring lead agency, adopting a positive declaration, and setting public scoping session for Woodlands Estates. And I'll read through this. Whereas the Town of East Fishkill Planning Board has received an application for a residential development in the Planned Residential Development PRD District, which would include up to 468 units of various sizes and a clubhouse in 24 buildings. Whereas an environmental assessment form, parts 1 to 3, was filed with the East Fishkill Planning Board to initiate the environmental review as required by SEEKR. Whereas the Planning Board declared their intent to be lead agency for a coordinated review under SEEKR on July 16, 2024. Whereas the Planning Board has reviewed the EAF, PRD master plan, and other supplemental information submitted with the Planning Board application. And whereas per the planned residential development zoning, a PRD application requires the preparation of an environmental impact statement. And whereas issuance of a positive declaration and subsequent preparation of a draft environmental impact statement are intended to provide the East Fishkill Planning Board, the public, and involved and interested agencies with an understanding of the type of environmental impacts that may be associated with the proposed action. And whereas based on the Planning Board's initial review of the action pursuant to the implementation of regulations pertaining to Article 6 of SEEKR, the proposed action would meet the following Type 1 thresholds. Number 1, construction of new residential units that meet or exceed the following thresholds in a city, town, or village having a population of 150,000 persons or less, 200 units to be connected at the commencement of habitation to existing community or public water and sewerage systems, including sewage treatment works. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby classifies the action as a type 1 action under seeker as such term is defined in 6 NYCRR 617.2 and declares lead agency for purposes of conducting the seeker review of the action. And be it further resolved that the planning board authorizes a positive declaration and notice of intent to prepare a draft environmental impact statement for the Woodland Estates project and sets a public scoping meeting for the draft environmental impact statement for Tuesday, November 19th, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the East Fishkill Town Hall located at 330 Route 376, Hopewell Junction, New York, 12533. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the planning board shall cause a copy of this resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner. This resolution was given by John Eichman. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And we'll do a roll call vote. Board Member Ed Miyoshi?
Aye.
Sarah Bledsoe?
Aye.
Richard Campbell?
Aye.
Donald Pepe?
Aye.
John Greenan?
Aye.
John J. Vagnoli?
Aye.
And John Eichman. I'm an aye. Carries.
Good to see you.
Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in November.
As part of the filing with New York State DEC and the Environmental Notice Bulletin, there's usually a positive declaration that goes with this. We had submitted a draft. Will Michelle send us the official version so that I can file that accordingly?
Yes.
Excellent.
Probably tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll get it.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure that's all covered.
And to complete the response in that, there is a written positive declaration dated September 17, 2024 that we just passed as a part of that resolution.
Okay.
Thank you.
you very much.
Yes. And I might just indicate for the people who are here and the board, the public scoping session is different from a public meeting. It's actually something where we make an attempt to identify the potentially significant adverse environmental impacts. It's an opportunity for the public to also come in and make comments with regards to their thoughts on environmental impacts. And we've already received a letter from the school district suggesting that they have some questions and so forth, but we'll address those things in November.
That's correct. And then just to complete the record there will be a public hearing on the DEIS once it's completed. This is just the
Yes.
what we're going to be studying. Once the studies are out, that will be as well subject to a public hearing. So
Thank you for adding that, yes.
Yep.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments? If not, we'll move on to the second item on the agenda, Sprainbrook Meadows.
I lost it already, Jack. Good evening. My name is Charles May. I'm here representing Sprainbrook Meadows. So to go down, you just hit this guy right there. Oh, it's not going up on the screen. Oh, well. It takes a little while to probably to process.
Yeah, it looks like the whole entire thing's in the floodplain, and then some of this was taken.
Driveways outside and houses outside, so we established a pole fence too.
Okay.
So is that part of the reason for this shared driveway coming back like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is, again, Charles May. I'm here representing Sprainbrook Meadows. Sprainbrook Meadows is a property that's located on Townsend Road. Townsend Road is located just off of 52 and Hosner Mountain Road. The property consists of 99-plus acres. The majority of the property is, I would say, wetland. The wetland area has been actually delineated, and we have a delineation plan. There are some areas of flood zoning also. Okay. In any event, the project is located in the R1 zone, which is actually 1 acre. We have submitted a site layout plan, which actually has indicated in our envelope that we can meet the side yard, the front yard, and the rear yard setbacks I believe that Michelle has already taken a look at that. One of the things that I wanted to mention to the planning board is that the project has been before the board on previous occasions, and we have had several meetings with the town engineer regarding actually the flooding on Townsend Road. So under the direction of the town engineer, we met with the highway superintendent, and if I can find this plan, I'd be very happy. It's the site master plan. In any event, what we have done is we have delineated an area whereby there would be actually no development on Townsend Road. Can you bring up the site master plan, SM? Yeah, SM.
Hit the escape button.
To that whole block.
SM. Yeah,
These driveways come in here,
no, SDS.
here, here, here.
Okay. Yeah, I think if you look at the site master plan, it'll give you a better idea as to the actual development of the site. There's a portion of the site which actually floods at certain times of the year. We met with the highway department, and we actually delineated that actual flood area on the road. It's actually located on the plan, located by 2 numbered telephone poles. It's an extension of the area which is most likely almost in the middle of the property. As you look at the site, you can see where there is actually no development. The only development that we would have would be on the ends of the property where there would be no flooding area. We actually have what they call a LOMA, a determination of the actual lowest flood elevation, which would be elevation 283. We have, in the past, sent out our surveyor to actually make a determination as to where the safest elevations would be to have driveway ingress and egress for the site. Having said that, we have provided 2 driveways which are available at the elevation of 283 so that you can actually access the site. The other thing that we have done in order to be able to have safe ingress and egress to the site is we have shared driveways. There are actually 3 shared driveways, or three lots which are up in this other area up in the location, whereby under your zoning code, which is actually, I think it's, well, yeah, under 194-67C, you are allowed to have 3 lots on 1 driveway. So therefore, we have 3 lots on 1 driveway, actually located up in the upper right-hand corner of the site. And we actually have another 3 lots which are located in the middle of the site. I only wish we could see this a little better. Having said that, we've presented plans to the town engineer, along with the flood zone information on the plans. We have actually submitted the lot designs, and we feel as though the lot designs are in compliance with the shared driveways. All of the lots are within the or I think the lots are greater than 2 acres. So we feel as though we have met the actual greater than 1 acre requirement for the lot designation. Previously, we have a lot of information on the site, which was previously presented a while ago. We have information in our office on the deeps and some of the perks that were done, so we have taken the actual locations from the previous plan, and we've located the sewage disposal systems in that location. So we feel as though, with the fact that we are only developing both ends of the site, leaving the middle of the site void of any ingress and egress because of the fact that there was a determination by the highway superintendent that flooding occurred, the actual lot count would be 8 lots versus, I think we had 14 at one point. So if there are any questions, I'm here to ask your questions. I apologize for not being able to see this that well. But.
Okay, any questions or comments from board members? from our fire advisory.
Did you get the comment from the Fire Advisory Board about that, I guess the northernmost roadway entrance has to meet our turning radius
I
requirements?
did think that, yeah, I did
And that
think that Richard had that comment on there, so I don't have an official comment from you, but I did receive a comment regarding that from Richard's comment letter.
Okay, but from the plans, when we reviewed them, it looked too sharp for our fire apparatus to make the turn into
Yeah, that one loop turn, yeah, that was a tough one to get in there. Actually, with the site grading plan, it'd be easier to depict that actual turning radius. But I can take a closer look at that, and we can actually make it a little wider. We can
Well-
put a template on it.
Why can't they mirror the house?
Planning board or the planning office should have a standard for our turning, our fire apparatus
Okay.
turning radius.
That'd be fine, we'll definitely take a look at that.
Elevation there, too.
Thank you.
But I think he
Yes,
needs
thank
to
you.
switch back to...
Other question or comments from our professionals? I know, Rich, you have a number of comments in your letter.
Yes, we did generate a number of comments. A few general comments, though, not to get into too much of the detail. What happens to the remainder of the lot? So you have the 8 lots numbered, but then the remainder of the lot that has the bulk of the wetlands and the floodplain, that doesn't seem to have a number, so we were questioning or wondering what happens to that.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Richard, if Michelle remembers, we had a discussion with the applicant a while ago. Remember, Michelle? And that determination hasn't been determined at this point. I mean, it's really, it's an area that really can't be developed. I don't want to second guess the applicant. Is he going to leave it for open space? Most likely. But I can't really make that determination at this point until I speak with him.
Okay. Because we're going to have to figure out basically who's going to own that, and if there's going to be an easement or something like that over top of it.
Well, I'm sure that there will be, well, there's an attorney involved in the property, so I'm sure that will be something that will be determined. The other thing, too, is, which I wanted to be sure that everybody mentioned to you, is that the maintenance of the storm drainage on the site is going to be privately maintained. There's an actual declaration that the owner has made so that the town of East Fishkill will not have any reason to go in and maintain any of the stormwater discharges or anything along those lines on each one of those properties. It's actually filed with my actual narrative. So,
I have a couple comments.
Please.
So I know that there's, I think it's 5 lots and then 3 lots. There's the space in between that's just kind of going to be protected because it's wetlands, right? So there's your 5 lots, then you've got the area that floods, so there's no lots in that area, and then there's 3 lots beyond that, right? Is that how it's set up currently? And the 3 lots beyond it have a shared driveway. But it also looks like technically, and I'd have to look at the code again, but it looks like also lots 3, 4, and 5 also technically share a driveway, because so there's 2 shared driveways, in which case the planning board would need to issue a special permit, a shared driveway special permit. And one of the requirements of the shared driveway special permit is that the applicant can prove to satisfaction of the planning board that you can actually get a driveway on like a driveway to each lot, even though you're choosing to share a driveway to reduce the disturbance, you can still actually get a driveway on each lot. So are you able to prove that out, that you can actually get a driveway to each lot that you're proposing to share a driveway with?
we have looked at that. We could probably refine it. I'm sure it would be kind of an elaborate driveway, to be honest with you, to get over the to get over the wetlands and things along those lines. But we would definitely be entertaining, getting a special use permit from the planning board.
Okay. And then there's on Lot 2, I think it's drainage, but I don't know what that is. I don't know. There's like a weird, I don't know what it is, that goes alongside, I guess this is the septic area, and then it sort of looks like it might be some sort of drainage to the road next to the driveway to Lot 3. Can you explain what that is? I can show it to you on my computer. Yeah,
Looks like a swale graded
yeah,
out.
is it a swale? Is there, where's the water going?
What are the two
Still can't get this,
284 and 286, but on the left, 286, yeah.
No, on the left, like,
Because he's probably doing a fill system for the septic.
And this is just great.
But what's that crosses the property line? Property line here, so wherever that is.
yeah, I need the site grading plan, I need the SG plan.
I just don't know what the hatch is that's grossing.
Okay, I'm just- I don't know where to put it.
It almost looks like another driveway, but it's
Yeah,
not.
it's not.
Driveway's over here.
Right. Okay, and then this site, if you recall, it kind of has a long history here, but some of you may remember that it is pretty, the buildable area is pretty tight. There's wetlands pretty close to the backyards. So in many of these houses, the wetland line is very, very close to, there's not a lot of usable backyard. And typically, we require some sort of demarcation of the wetland line so that people are not going in. So like, for example, if you were to require a split rail fence along that line, it might look kind of funny. So I think that that's something to consider.
And that, I think, has been our practice on a number of projects that are like this, so I think it's likely that we'll want to do that.
How is all the stormwater being handled? There used to be huge basins.
Lot 3. Yeah,
Are you also going to be trying to get an excavation and fill special permit? Are you going to need that?
say that again?
Are you going to need an excavation and fill special permit? Are you going to be moving more than 375 cubic yards of fill?
I haven't really made that determination yet.
Yeah,
We're
it's
gonna
per lot,
try to
sorry.
move as many yards. As a matter of fact, Richard has requested that we come up with a cut and fill calculations, which we are in the process of starting. So once we make that determination, then we will be able to address that question.
Okay, so just keep that in the back of your mind because you would need to advertise for that. That's another special permit that would be required. Okay, so once you know that calculation, you just have to follow the procedure
Once
for
we
that.
get the calculations, we'll hand them over to Richard, and he can take a look at them.
And then I would just make sure that you can meet all the conditions of the special permit for the shared driveway, because it's really two separate share, and actually, I think we need to review the shared driveway special permit language and just make sure that you can meet that.
I did read that in the shared driveway. There was a special, as a matter of fact, I did believe you said it was deemed by the planning board, special use permit. I did remember reading that.
And have you determined how the shared driveways are going to be maintained? Who's going to be responsible for snow plowing, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a declaration. I submitted that with the narrative. It would be signed by our attorney. And it was my understanding that, as I said before, all of the stormwater, and we can actually include all the snow plowing and everything else in that declaration of maintenance, which is actually a model which was actually presented to me by Jackie. It's a model that is filed in the town of East Fishkill that we're using.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, Michelle?
Yeah, and just that I noticed that you have, it looks like you're showing adjacent area at the frontage of your lots because of the New York State DEC wetland across the street is resulting in adjacent area being along kind of the frontage of your lots. So I don't know what they're going to do about that, because I know the road exists between where the wetland is on the other side of the road and the front of the lots. So have you had any discussions with them about whether or not they're going to require you to get a
They
permit?
haven't, we actually are waiting for the New York State DEC to come out and redelineate the wetlands.
Okay.
The surveyor has been out there and flagged, but to be honest with you, Michelle, there has been no mention made of the adjoining wetlands across the road.
Okay, because so what happens on that site is there's wetlands across the street from where the lots are proposed, and because the wetland across the street goes right up basically to the street line, 100 feet includes the road and then portions of the front yards of the other. And I don't know how DEC is going to handle that, if they're going to make them get a permit to disturb for the driveway access or not. But we'll have to clarify that.
Michelle, we're 100 feet from that actual delineation, from that, everything is set back.
Your houses are, but the driveways go through it, it looks like to me.
Well, the driveways are not, because the driveways are on Townsend Road. So,
Well, we'll just, it may be that they don't care because there's a road between, but I think you just need to clarify with them how they're going to handle that.
we can speak to them about it. I mean, there's such a limited driveways as it is.
Okay, so I guess there's still a few things to be determined for your next presentation. You know, this is kind of a complicated project in ways because of all the wetlands and the different things that
No, it's
that
a real easy one.
But what would be helpful for the board is if you could maybe bring in a couple of sets of full-size plans showing this that we could have up here and we could follow along.
With me tonight, and I'm going to bring my board again, because this thing just doesn't do it for me.
Right.
Or you. I mean, I've sat on a planning board for 8 years in the town of Wappinger, so I know what you're up against. And I apologize, but this machine doesn't do what I expect it to do, so I will, at my next presentation, set up the dog and pony show so that everybody can see what we're doing, and that's the way it should be.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
No worries. As a matter of fact, in some planning boards, we actually hand out 11 by 17s so that you can actually be looking at what I'm looking at, only at a smaller scale. So I can also do that for you if you wish.
Yeah, or even a full-size plan.
Well, full-size.
That
you
we
can
could share up here.
You can share, yeah,
Yeah.
no worries. I can do that.
These size drawings, it's a little tough to
Okay.
manage.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
So, is there a concern, given the proximity of the wetlands, flooding in the basements of these homes?
Well, actually, we've tried to have these homes as high as we possibly can. There have been some deep testing that has been done that has gone down to about 7 feet. And there was not much indication of water at that depth. But we plan to go out there again and probably do some more deep testing, just to see exactly what's going on. Are they going to have basements? That's another question. So,
Okay.
So a lot of the houses won't have basements, or?
I think they probably will, but, it's a good question at this point, if they are or they aren't. Some, as I said before, deep testing has been done, and it's as you are up above the flood elevation, the actual water table is not so terrible as it would be if you were down lower, beyond, obviously, lower than the elevation at 283, which is actually the lowest elevation for flooding. And we have there's another map that you should be seeing too. We actually have a delineated map which shows all of the property which is above the elevation of the 283, which can actually be developed, which would give you a clearer idea of where we can go with this piece of property as far as development.
And Chuck, I'm just looking at the, one of the lots, the final lot, Lot 6. Just check your acreage on that, because I think it has to be, to have a shared driveway, it has to be 1.5 acres. So that's a little shy, so just see if there's anything you can do.
1.5 acres, and I believe it is over 1.5 acres, to be honest with you.
It says 1.15, so just check it to make sure, that yeah.
Okay. I want to thank Scott Bryan for helping on this project, to be honest with you. He's been more than patient.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, we will see you next time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is Ravel Convenience Store.
Good evening. Jason Littrick from JL Architecture, representing Mrs. Ravel. My client bought the property a couple years ago for the sole purpose to open a convenience store. And the reason she picked this property is because the previous use was a retail establishment as well. It used to be A1 Mowers, and they had a 600 square foot retail space in the front, and they had a 1,600 square foot warehouse storage area on the ground floor. And on the second floor, there's an existing 3-bedroom apartment. So when they bought this property, they thought because this was already a retail establishment, their plan was to open a convenience store. When we applied to the building department, we were advised that we had to come in front of the planning board for site plan approval. They're looking to use the property as is, the same 600 square feet of the retail space that's there, and looking to use the property just the way it is. And we received the comments from the engineers, and some of them we could definitely, look at the parking, because we were looking to use the existing parking that was there. There's more than enough spaces for the use for the convenience store and for the accessory dwelling unit above. So we need about 6-7 spaces. We have 16 spaces. Even if we eliminate, based on the comments we received, looking at it is a little tight for the aisles. If we remove the parking spaces that are along 376, we still have 11 spaces, which is more than enough for the tenant upstairs and for the convenience store. We do have an issue that I believe we're lacking site lighting, so we will propose site lighting to this, because the convenience store is going to be open at night. Winter months are coming. We need some kind of lighting on site. We would really appreciate if we could stay out of the DOT right away for any improvements, because time is of the essence. They're trying to open the store as soon as possible. And I have another project in front of the DOT, and it's been 4 months already just trying to get a curb cut. So there's existing curb cuts there already. And if we could just use the parking as it is, that would be a huge help. And again, the building, they're not making any changes to the building itself. They're using it as is. The apartment upstairs that is now rented out to tenants is going to be used as a caretaker. The person who is going to run the convenience store is going to live upstairs. So even there, that's one person, one parking space instead of the 2 that's required. And, if we can, we're looking to just get this approved so they can open up their store and get to business.
I have a question.
Sure.
It's a 765 square foot convenience store in the existing 2,152 square foot 2-story building. And then it goes on to say, in addition, the building would also continue to house a 1,316 square foot storage space.
So
And a 71 square foot office, and then you got the 1,000 square foot 3-bedroom apartment. It seems to go by way past 2,152 square feet.
Yes, we have.
So there's got to be a mistake someplace.
Yeah, we have the area for the retail is 600 square feet. The area for the
The area for the retail
is 600 square
convenience
feet.
store is 600?
Correct.
Okay.
And the apartment is, hang on, I can grab that for you.
It says 1,000 here,
Yeah,
but it also says it's a 3-bedroom apartment. And you're saying that it's only going to be occupied by one person, so there's got to be some kind of gauge that it could be potentially occupied by more, so.
yeah, so the apartment is 1624, and the warehouse below is 1624. And the retail spaces in the front is 600 square feet.
Out of the 1,500?
No, it's an addition to that. So the ground floor has it's basically a rectangle, and then the retail is a little bump out on the front of the building. 600
What's the
square
total
feet.
square footage?
I'm sorry?
What is the total square footage?
The total square footage of the
Can't be
entire
21,
building?
2.
38, 48.
Would be at least
Is 3,848 square feet.
Okay.
3,800.
48.
Okay, and then the one other question I have, not to interrupt you, but I'm sorry. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you look at that building head-on, standing on 376, and you look all the way to the left, there's a garage there. Does that garage belong to this property?
Yeah, there's a little accessory building down on the end. I don't know, I'll let the owner speak to what, I know one of the comments that we received is what is that going to be used for? Right now, it's just a little garage. I'm not sure what they plan to,
Well, I've seen it occupied, so there's some type of operation taking place there. Now, is that parking for that garage adjacent or connected to the parking lot here? Or is it apart? Is there grassy area that?
there is a bit of a grass area. I mean, the driveway does come down and connect, but there's no parking spaces down there.
Okay. So that has to be contiguous. So then that garage is an addition to this 3848,
Okay.
right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I just want to ask the questions because this all has to be, it's one site and it all has to function. If the parking is got to add up and they have to, looking to speed the plow, you have to kind of come out with everything that's there and.
Absolutely. I was unaware that there was an operation operating out of that garage. I thought it was just a two-car garage sitting there.
Well, regardless of whether there was somebody operating in there or not, it still could be something that's operable there, and we need to understand it because it would be contiguous with what's taking place here, correct?
Could we also use it as parking for the tenant?
Absolutely, but what I'm saying is this square footage adds up into the whole site plan, and then there was a requirement by the town for parking, so it would all have to be together. Because it's one site, so
Yeah,
it has to park everything. And on one site, you don't have it as a separate site.
So how would parking be counted for a garage if it's a garage for parking?
Again, it would be whatever the building code
Because we included that in
Depend on how you're using the garage.
Yeah.
We include that in our lot coverage.
You would have to be in compliance with your site plan. So I think right now, the current site plan shows that as a garage, and I think what we're saying to you is we don't think it's being used as a garage. We think there's a use actually in there, which would need to be identified on the site plan and parked for.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just a little confused how to
Well,
calculate
it'd
a
have to be
garage.
inclusive is basically what we're saying. It's all one site. All the dwellings on the site have to be inclusive of this on the site plan and be part of the whole design, the total design of it.
So would it, even if it's used for storage, we'll use it as one space needed for storage?
Well, again, it's whatever the building code requires of you to do. Plus, you had mentioned about this apartment above, and it says on here, it was described as a 1,000 square foot, 3-bedroom apartment. Now you're saying, I believe it's a 1,624 square foot, 3-bedroom apartment, correct? So we'd have to really delineate based on the retail requirements and then the parking requirements of the apartment above, in total, what you would need based on the building code.
So I think all you just need to do is provide a narrative listing all the uses on the site and the parking requirements or everything. So you'd say the apartment would require X amount of spaces, the convenience store X amount of spaces, storage X, and then whatever is in the garage, whatever use is in the garage,
We did provide the parking requirements on the site plan.
but not for the garage.
Have you heard this right?
Let me just check my application for the existing square footage.
Because I don't believe the garage is actually being used as a garage. I think there's actually a business in that garage.
And then again, I don't know if the fire advisory board had a chance to look at that and how accessible your equipment is to whatever. I mean, probably from the street potentially,
There's
but,
not a problem with that.
okay.
We do have some questions about what's going to be stored in the warehouse, and just as a note, I happened to drive by that the other day, and there were materials being taken in and out of that garage. There's no car parked in there, that's for sure.
So there's some type of operation.
So as long as we're doing the site plan, we might as well figure out what's there and then get it, approved by the planning board, assuming that it's a use that's something that can be approved.
Yeah, we didn't mention the total square footage in the application. We just mentioned the 600 square feet for the retail.
So if the lower level is 1624 square feet and 600 square feet is being used for the retail portion, is the remainder of that square footage the garage? Or is there?
It's going to be used as storage warehouse.
Okay.
And then there's the garage apart from
Garage is separate.
That's not inclusive of this total square.
Right.
Garages.
That's where
The 1624 does not include the detached
there's a little
garage.
semantics.
Understood, okay.
The other thing I noted just is that looks to me, I don't know who it belongs to, but it looks like maybe there might be some encroachments from the adjacent property onto your property, like there's bollards that I think may go with the adjacent property that are on your property on the survey. Or maybe they're yours, I'm not sure, but it looks like it belongs to the other property.
Also a structure in the back, right?
Yeah, and I think there might be like a container, but I don't know who owns those structures.
And there's also isn't there still an existing propane refill?
The propane tank is gone, but the fence is there, so I think that was a comment received in the
But it would have to be eradicated, or,
stood
it has
for-
to be made to be safe, and I would say eradicated. I don't know. You'd have to, again, that's a fire advisory board.
It was
and
an
a building
above-ground
question.
Yeah, there's nothing there now.
If
Just
they
a concrete
remove the
slab.
tank.
Oh, it's gone?
Yeah, it's
Oh, I thought
gone.
it was still there. I apologize.
said-
So it's just the fence is there?
Yeah.
Yep, just a fence with a
I'm sorry.
concrete
I thought
slab.
the tank was still there.
No,
And are there any underground storage tanks on the property?
not that I'm aware of.
No. Okay. Do you plan on doing anything as far as improvements to the exterior, the front, and are you planning any landscaping?
Not at this point. They were hoping to just use the building as is and open the business, and then later on down the road, once the business started to flourish, to upgrade the building and do some improvements.
Okay. I think as a part of the overall plan, we'd like to see lighting plan, landscaping plan, and we really ought to be taking a look at what the buildings are going to look like on the exterior front. It's a beautiful corner. It's a great corner, so I think we're interested in seeing the entire plan come together.
Okay. We'll
Yeah, I would
do a
say
lighting plan and a
the
landscape plan.
fencing there that's existing is also falling down in a number of places.
What was that? I'm sorry.
The fencing is falling down in a number of places.
Along the side of the building.
Where the parking is, where the tenants would enter, along that area, there's also a pavilion or gazebo that's in rough shape.
Okay.
We should look at that.
So I'll discuss that with the owners and see how they want to address, maybe if it's in rough shape, just take it out of there. This is a gazebo, there's no need for it, right?
Yeah, just for the tenants maybe, who knows? Yeah.
Sure.
My wife and, my name is Jignesh Raval. My wife and I, we own this. As far as the gazebo goes, we got a phone call from Mr. Randy Ross. They wanted to, he mentioned from the town that they were interested in, see if we are interested in donating, and we are, for the town where they can, they can put it somewhere where they can have a wedding and things like that. And we wanted to donate it, of course. They called us a couple of days ago.
Don't know that individual, yeah.
Okay. Well, they mentioned town, Fishkill, and then they said we wanted to bring it to somewhere where people get married, and then, they can use it, and they said, we'll put your name on it. I said, it doesn't matter, we can just have it.
Yeah.
So, and as far as the garage goes, just to, we can, it's just a tenant, it's a month to month, we can empty it out, we can park our own, cars or things like that. We always have access nowadays, so we can, we can get rid of that. There's,
So if it's month to month, what does that tenant do in there now?
he basically brings the donuts and stuff like that and goes to the convenience stores.
Okay.
And it's basically, he just there, as long as, we want him, if there's, we can, just to get some income, we did as a favor to, just so we can pay some bills and stuff like that. Property's just sitting there, so that's why we had to bring him in. And again, we know he will be gone. And as far as the answer to next door encroachment and stuff, he's a pizza guy, he owns this thing, he's there forever, so we don't want to start the fight and everything. He uses our land all the time, and I don't say anything because he's there forever, and
Okay, I'm not sure that you have to do anything. We don't have legal counsel here tonight.
Okay.
So I can ask that question to them, like if they would require some sort of agreement between the neighbors, or if they are just going to leave it up to you guys to figure out. I'm not sure about that, so I can circle back with them and find out what they would require, if anything.
We are open with him. We can always tell him, say, we can put the fence if it is necessary. We will make the corner very beautiful. We just want somewhere to get started, at least $1 rolling in or something like that. And we hardworking people will be there, hands-on. And upstairs apartment, it's not going to be one person for 3-bedroom. It's going to be one family. The kids will be going from school. They'll be getting dropped off and picked up. Again, they don't have to commute anymore. Equals to they can have longer hours to work from open to close, to answer certain questions.
And if you were planning to, if you want to use the garage as rental space, you can apply with the site plan that you're doing now for whatever that use is. I can't tell you whether or not it's an allowed use or if the building is suitable, because that would have to be done as part of the review. But you could certainly apply, since you're in front of us right now, for a site plan.
We would love to, and, as just like everything else, if we can get an income out of that, it'll be great. If not, our main purpose is to open a convenience store. And then if we can get a little extra income because we are allowed to, by all means. As you can see, we've been here for almost a year, no income, nothing. We're just putting our life saving into that, and, we will keep it. And as far as the fence and stuff like those, definitely we'll get it fixed, whichever way it is. But I wanted to make sure that, the gazebo goes away, then I want to do everything at the same time. And somebody called us, I don't even know why, but somebody called, Randy Ross, we have a number, phone number, we'll share with you, or somebody, whenever, so, and that's it. If there are any other questions, please.
Is there going to be any cooking in there?
I'm sorry?
Any cooking?
No.
No cooking.
Okay, so that would go with what we were asking for, a narrative, and that was the purpose of that, because there's a difference if you're selling potato chips or if you're making coffee or if you're making hot dogs or sandwiches, and then for us to understand the water and wastewater needs.
Right. No, we don't, there's going to be no cooking whatsoever, no fries, nothing, just all dry food. Basically like 7-Eleven, but even less than 7-Eleven cooking part, just
Okay,
packet stuff and in and out.
So if you could write that up in a narrative and then address the water and wastewater needs.
And what are the plans for the storage area? Will we be storing?
Storage, nothing. Again, we don't know. We bought the building because of the, as everyone knows, it's a great location, and that's all we've done all my life. So location was, we fell in love with it, and I'm like, okay, this is what we can own, and we can keep up, so there's no plan for storage. It's going to stay empty. It doesn't matter. And by the way, the building, the way the square footage is, the bottom, the ground floor is bigger, and as you go in an apartment, there's a big deck, and you can see from outside. So it's not the whole, not the whole floor same equal as the bottom and the first and the second floor. That's why it's a little, hard to figure out.
Is there a fire or smoke detection system in the facility?
Honestly, I don't know if it is up to the, but the gentleman who owned it, he was there forever, and he did everything by, that was his life over there. And he passed away on the job right there with the COVID and all that. So his wife had to sell this thing immediately. And that's where we stepped in, and somebody knew somebody, so it worked out.
The concern is that building's been there a long time, and may have been there long before fire alarm systems
73,
were required for commercial buildings.
1973. And we like to, be part of that, so that's what it is. But he kept up with everything. He was a hands-on, he was a small tool operator, fixer, things like that. So he did everything himself, and there was nothing that didn't work there.
EDA.
We'll do the bathrooms update for, ADA and all that stuff. Of course, we can afford all that, and we want to do it, so we don't have to, worry about it. It's going to be our own property, so we're not going to, let it go anywhere. So that's, of course, it's going to be part of that.
Okay, and I have HVEAs. Our traffic engineer is not here, but I have his comments, so I'll just give them to you. He understands that there was an existing, configuration, but he's suggesting or recommending that, in general, only one access point permitted on each abutting road. So he's saying to maybe make one on Route 376, make one way in and one way out. Those two, and you have to sign it as well.
As a layman, I don't understand, but you mean just put the sign up?
You'd have to put the sign up, yeah, and then make it so that there's just general flow through, it's safer that way, basically.
Absolutely, we are all for it.
Do you know if there's any ADA parking spaces marked? Because you would need to do that as well. You'd have to do one space marked.
No problem, understood. It will be done.
And what is your sign, where's your existing sign located?
It's on the building itself, and then there's one freestanding sign where the tank used to be on that side of the, I should say, on this side of the street.
I'm trying to find it on here.
Looks like there's one right here in the corner.
Yeah, that's what I'm, because so in the one that's in the corner is technically in the DOT right away. So I think you would need a use and occupancy permit technically for any change to that sign.
Sounds right.
So I think you just be prepared that you might need some sort of permit from New York State DOT to put a sign there, a new sign there, because you're in the right of way. The corner doesn't technically belong to you, it belongs to the DOT. So they have a permit requirement. So you could change out your sign on the building, and then you would have to, in order to change out the sign that's in that area, you'd probably have to get the permit first. Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? So quite a bit of detail that we'd love to see when you come back next month.
The other thing we ask is we have to there's no CO for the apartment upstairs, and we have to go in front of the ZBA. Is it possible to run them at the same time? Can we be deferred to the ZBA for the apartment? Or the caretaker apartment?
Okay, yeah. So we can
Absolutely.
refer them to the ZBA, and then we can run it concurrently, yes.
I'll accept a motion to refer the applicant to the ZBA.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm asking for details.
Norma's probably going to make us do a coordinated review with seeker.
Tell us what you're making.
So I think we're going to have to just declare intent to be lead agency, and I'll confirm with Norma.
Got it.
That way we're covered.
Okay, could I have a motion to declare to be our intent to be lead agency?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, all right, very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so if you would just call the office tomorrow, and I can walk you through the coordination with the ZBA, and then we need a narrative, okay? Just explaining everything you want to do and adding that garage on if you want to add that use in, okay? And then we can talk about the coordination and other things.
And elaborate on the convenience store, like what you intend to sell.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is SWF2 Fulfillment Center.
I'm going to try this on. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you for the
If this doesn't work, I have I have boards.
Technology makes everything so much easier.
Until it doesn't.
As long as you got a teenager to help you use it.
There you go. Bring our kids in.
still like my paper.
Especially with plans.
Certain things like
Stand looking at plans.
Right. Yeah, just go to the paper. Abandon this. Right.
There's an
Right.
Switch to analog.
You know, that's prepared, though. That's great. Good backup plan. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Right, yeah. Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members. Thank you. My name's Robert Stout. I'm an attorney at Whiteman, Osterman & Hanna, project attorney on behalf of Amazon Leasing LLC. I'm here with Mr. Peter McCabe, who's the project engineer and technical engineer at the computer at the moment. As this board may know, Amazon is the tenant at 76-112 Patriot Way, pursuant to an approved special permit and site plan. This application is a proposed site plan amendment relative to the installation of an accessible route pursuant to Amazon's policies. We understand that's in excess of what's required by the Americans with Disabilities Act. The application entails the construction of a new sidewalk and replacement of a portion of the existing sidewalk. No alterations or modifications are proposed to any building or structure. In a moment, Peter will walk you through the plans to explain exactly what's being done. I think it's worth noting that there are no significant changes being proposed to any of the things that bear on this board's typical review criteria for site plans. Nothing relative to conformance with laws, nothing material relative to access or circulation, consistency with the neighborhood architectural features, natural features, utility lines. Frankly, we think it's something that typically wouldn't be the subject of a site plan amendment review, but it's been requested, so we're happy to do that for the board. Other than addressing the minor comments received by the town's engineer, we believe we've provided the planning board with everything that it needs as part of this application. Happy to take any additional requests or comments this evening. With that, I'll turn it over to Peter for a walkthrough of the plan.
Thank you, Rob. So I'm going to kind of make use of both. Just to point out, this is the cover sheet, and I don't think I have to orient people to where the Amazon building is in town, but it's between Route 52 and 84. It's south of the Hudson Valley Logistics Center that's currently almost constructed, or it's almost occupied. And it's the guard shack. There's a guard shack on the north side of the building. There's a guard shack on the south side of the building, the south driveway. And there's a parking space that's a handicap accessible parking space right next to the guardhouse. But Amazon has decided that it wants to, in accordance with their standards of how they provide accessible routes, they want to have an accessible route from that south guardhouse all the way to the building. And what the proposal is to make use of some existing sidewalk that needs to be replaced in order to bring it in compliance with an ADA route, and some addition of sidewalks. We were able to do it without a big switchback or anything like that, but there are some that are at 12%, or I'm sorry, at 1 on 12, and require railing for some length. And then there's the proper landings, and it's all designed in accordance with ADA. And then there is one section where we needed, in order to do the grading, there's like a 4-foot-high wall for about 75 linear feet along the route. There's crosswalks across the paved areas that get you to the building, and those crosswalks are fully painted pedestrian crossings with what we propose is pedestrian lights that are activated, and then there's flashing lights because of the nature of the operation there. The total disturbance is about 1/4 of an acre. I mentioned the signage. There's soil erosion measures that we have proposed on the plans. So I'm just going to, I'll point to what's up on the screen. You can see I highlighted in yellow, although it's not very clear. That's the building on the upper left-hand corner. There's a little ramp to get down from the loading dock level of the door. You cross over to an existing sidewalk that then comes along some of the trailer parking there, and then crosses again a trailer parking paved area, and then crosses the page again using a new sidewalk, and then you can see it loop down to the driveway and the guard shack. I can flip to another page here. So this is the sheet that is highlighted in yellow on the screen. Again, the building is here, patient building is here, south part of the site is here with the driveway. This is the guardhouse. And the actual existing accessible space is right here. So that's where we started. It goes around some light fixtures and some of the guard or the gate equipment. Here's that wall, 75 feet. And there are a couple of, the site is landscaped, and there are a couple of plans that need to be relocated to accommodate this.
Could you talk into the mic a little bit more?
Oh.
Yeah, you can take it with you. Thanks.
Do I need to repeat anything? Yeah, so I think I was just saying that the plantings will remain, as they are, except for, I believe it's 3 that are noted as needing to be relocated. So this is a little bit different scale on the other sheets. So this shows this is all existing here. This is a little piece of reconstructed. This is new. That's the crosswalk. There's the ramp. This is all reconstructed. And this is just a larger scale of, again, the existing guard shack, the existing parking space, and the beginning of the accessible route.
So can you just delineate what exists right now and where the change is proposed? That's all I'm trying to...
Sure. Starting from here, everything from here to off the page is existing sidewalk. And then this is all new, all this concrete hatch. These darker shades are actually the areas where there is the need for the ramp and the railing. Everything else is less than 5% in terms of slope.
So the dark areas represent a ramp?
Yes.
And railing.
Yeah. On grade, on grade ramp and railing. So there's 5 of them altogether to get up that slope,
And is
or
this
to get down
in
that slope.
addition to, or you're eradicating something and then adding this in?
This is all new.
Oh.
And then here, this hatch, so all the way to here is new. This hatch is existing sidewalk.
Okay.
That is then being replaced because it doesn't have the right cross slope.
So is the main purpose of this so that the folks, your employees that work in the guard shack can get to the warehouse? Is that the main purpose of this?
Yes.
Okay. And currently, because if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's mostly truck parking, right, in that lot? So it's not really any employee, is there employee parking on there? Would the other employees that park in this lot use that sidewalk, or is it really just mainly for the employees for the guard shack?
It's really just for the employees for the guard shack, yeah. So it's limited. Yeah, the employees, the parking is all out front to the east. So just to...
There's a spot delineated for the guard to park over there, is that?
You said there was an ADA spot there, I don't know about anything else.
This is the path. This is the ADA, so I believe it's not designated actually on this plan very clearly, but I believe it's in this area right next to the shack, like this is the island. And so then the accessible route, which is already, there already is a crossing and an ADA ramp in this sidewalk, so that's where we picked it up.
So this all looks pretty straightforward, very positive change that allows you to have someone in the guard shack who needs to have ADA accessibility. Are there any questions or comments by board members? Any fire professionals? Any further questions?
I think we asked for photometrics. You're going to provide those? I know you just talked about it briefly, the type of lighting, but...
Yeah, I don't have anything to show tonight, but we did look at it, and the area in question, or the area for this improvement, has a half-a-foot candle minimum lighting right now with the existing lighting that's there. So the intent is not to create any, or not to install any additional lighting.
All right, so if it suffices, just add that to your plan sheet for this.
Sure.
And then we'd ask the location of the concrete washout area. How are you going to handle that?
Okay, yeah, we'll handle that.
And then there are a couple, like, housekeeping things, literally. I pointed out in my memo, we do have a problem with litter at the site that needs to be addressed. And we also still have problems with trucks that are not following the 84 to Lime Kiln Road to South Drive Patriot Way route. So we still have a couple of outstanding issues that we'd like to see cleaned up.
Right, and I mean, as you know, it was a condition of the original approval that the trucks use Lime Kiln Road and that route to 84. So, you know, I think the methods of doing that are signage and ongoing instruction of the drivers. And so the applicant is fully willing to, you know, cooperate in that and continue to work to that end.
And what about as far as implementing a parking lot sweeping procedure?
I think Rob was going to speak to that, but I mean, generally, I think there is a robust, you know, ordinance for.
Yeah, the town adopts and incorporates by reference the state property maintenance code into your code, and includes some robust enforcement provisions, including notice, opportunity to be heard, and unilateral enforcement rights for the town if the property owner operator doesn't address the issue. So we think that's the appropriate way of addressing the situation. Certainly understand where the comments are coming from in terms of implementing a daily sweeping protocol. Our concern there is that that could be ambiguous if the property isn't swept to the degree that the town thinks appropriate, or it's not swept at a certain interval every day or at a certain time every day. It would just seem easier to operate within the construct that the town already has of enforcing pursuant to the property maintenance code if the town...
That puts the burden on us to police this.
So is there...
In other words, any sweeping is better than no sweeping.
True.
You're arguing, well, maybe it's not swept enough or at the right interval, but right now you got, as far as I know, no sweeping.
Right. Well, I think we can come up with a proposal for dealing with something on a daily basis that's just a...
The problem is people go out and have their lunch and throw the stuff out on the blacktop. You drive around, you see it, so something has to be done.
Do we think it's an issue of needing more trash receptacles, or...
Well, when people just throw stuff out the window while they're having their lunch in their car, I don't know if trash receptacles help or not.
Okay.
We'll drive up and down the aisles, you'll see what's going on, so.
I think we can provide a proposal to deal with that in a way that we believe...
What happens then, it blows off-site, blows on the Patriot Way, blows over to the school, we get complaints from the school, so it's a problem.
Yeah. The goal, I think the mutual goal is to have a mechanism implemented that prevents that, that's also uniform, so it's unambiguous what the applicant has to do, what the operator has to do, and what triggers enforcement if it's not done.
If I could just ask a question. So when you say sweeping, you're talking about like running a sweeper through?
Get one of these sweep trucks like all the other plazas have to go through and sweep the parking lot.
Can you just step up to the microphone? Sorry about that.
So you're saying a sweeper, a vehicle that goes through the house, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe produce a contract showing that, hey, this is a contract showing that this is what we're going to be doing. Some type of plan that's realistic, that we're just having to oversee rather than enforce on that.
I think we can discuss that with our client and put that in the response to comments.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Is this something we can approve by a simple motion with the conditions that they meet to your satisfaction, town engineer? The requirements for photometrics and for sweeping plan?
The concern I think we have in part is it being that this is such a large site and there has been an impact to some degree in that area. We've identified some issues that we want to see cleaned up. I think maybe we want to give maybe the public an opportunity to speak to see if there's things that maybe we're not aware of. So as long as we're here amending the site plan, we want to try to catch everything.
So suggesting we should consider a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Would a public hearing be something that you could plan to do at our October meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that meeting is on October 15th. And so I'll accept a motion to schedule a public hearing for the applicant for October 15th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
You have
Very good.
20-day notice requirement, so just make sure you have time right now, but you'd have to do it in the next few days.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, do you provide the list, or should we generate a list?
We can provide it for you.
Okay, thank you.
You can call me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the Flower Cottage. Is anyone for the applicant here? Brian. I'm here. Welcome.
So the applicant purchased this building a while back. And it used to be a real estate office, and she's now would like to run a florist shop out of it. And I think during the whole process, there was a couple of violations or no CO issued for the building. So we were kind of working through getting everything up to par with the applicant and the building department and the planning department. And we're here tonight just to solidify those discussions with the board and come on with an amended site plan that just basically codifies everything and gets the paperwork straight.
Got it.
Yeah, this was just by way of explanation. This was just one of those ones that sort of was an old use that had never gotten the proper paperwork, essentially. So we cleaned up the site. You made some nice changes for us. There had been an existing refuse container that was sort of at the corner of Route 82. They moved it and they enclosed it. They put that on the site plan. They updated it. So it's just minor changes to the site plan, but basically improvements and then just codifying what was actually out there. And I think we're good now. And a nice new sign.
I have to admit, I drive by it often, and I smile every time I pass it because it is beautiful and has a couple of dozen little American flags.
Did a good job.
Yeah. Any questions or comments by board members or other professionals? If not, we have a resolution.
Well, I just got a question about the resolution, because according to the agenda here, it says the address is 1103 Route 82, and the resolution says 1997 Route 52. So
Yeah, we'll fix that.
confused.
Which one is it?
So it is 82.
It's 82, yeah.
It is Route 82.
Okay. 1103?
It's Route 82.
Is the actual address 1103 Route 82?
I think it is. I just
Okay.
looked it up.
Okay, so we'll amend that when we go through. Name of site plan, The Flower Cottage. Name of applicant, Chris Valenti. Location, 1103 Route 82, Hopewell Junction, New York. Resolution offered by Planning Board member John Eichman. Whereas the applicant is applying for a change of use from a realty office to a flower store. Whereas the applicant proposed minor changes to the site plan and prepared an amended site plan for the proposed flower store. Whereas no public hearing is required for the minor site plan changes. And whereas the action is a type 2 action under seeker, no further seeker review is required. Be it further resolved that the planning board hereby grants amended site plan approval as shown on the Flower Cottage amended site plan prepared by Dan Stokosa Engineering PC and dated May 1st, 2024. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the planning board shall cause a copy of this resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sarah, and we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Sarah Bledsoe.
Aye.
Ed Moshi.
I would say aye, but again, the grid number on the resolution
We'll
doesn't match
fix
the
it.
grid
We'll fix
number
that.
there, but I'm in favor of this. yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for the corrections. Richard Campbell.
Aye.
Donald Pepe.
Aye.
John Giavagnoli. Aye. John Greenan.
Aye.
And John Eichman. I'm an aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So that takes us to Stormville Square.
Marble Square. I like coming back here and seeing you guys on this project. So, long story short is we had an approved site plan. We were doing a 2-story storage building. It was a steel structure, 18,000 square foot footprint. It was 2 stories, so the lower floor was accessible, and the front was 2 stories exposed. You drive around back up the hill. In the back, you have 1 story exposed in the back. We're actually using the building as a retaining wall, so we can meet ADA access requirements front and back. In going through the financial end of the project and looking at the site and the work that was required behind that structure, the applicant was playing around with grading and some different layout ideas with the building. And we're going to be presenting an updated site plan that shows a 1-story building. It'll be wood framed. It'll be a future submission that we'll be making next month. That's going to substantially reduce the footprint of that building. The steel costs were just, and the concrete costs were a little bit high.
Excuse me, the footprint or just the total square footage?
It's going to be both. The footprint's going to change and the square footage is going to change. So it's going to be less of an impact overall because we are going to be decreasing. But in doing so, the grading should look better on site because what we'd like to do and what we're here tonight for is we are going to push instead of using the building foundation as a retaining wall, we were going to try to push back with a unilock retaining wall along the backside of the property. And the hope was, in doing so, that we could soften the front of the building, be more economical because it'd be a wood frame structure, and that it'd be a modular block foundation, modular block wall. Basically the same kind of exterior. It'll be a grayish unilock faced wall. But, I think in our original proposals way back, we had wall heights of 16, 18 feet. With this latest version, trying to soften everything, we're looking at about a 9-foot retaining wall around the backside. So we're here tonight just to present that wall concept to the board. We're still going to have a lot of aspects from that original site plan that will be incorporated next month with the landscaping, the lighting, the agreements with the neighbors specific to plantings and shading from our 2 property owners that were at our last public hearing. All those requirements will be incorporated into this latest revision, just taking it and just refining it a little bit. The applicant is going to be having a slow period coming up with his laborers, and the thought process is to discuss the wall with the board tonight to see if there'd be the opportunity to entertain constructing that wall as we move forward in the fall season here, and as work kind of dries up, that they have an opportunity to flip over to the site and start working on the building, and not the building, but the actual wall construction, and start doing some grading to clean up the site. And we will be here next month with a full submission detailing what I just talked about, which is that newer version of the site and reduction in building coverage.
Okay. So with those changes, I suppose we should probably refer them to the Architectural Review Committee again?
You're changing, well, we don't have anything to refer right now because you haven't submitted anything yet.
Okay.
So let me just make sure I understand what you're asking for.
It's,
You're
I
asking-
guess, it's the wall that's changed, and the exterior elevations of the building, similar, same?
Similar architecture, it's just going to be smaller, you know? It's not, instead of 2-story, it's going to be 1-story. The building's going to be set a little bit lower, so you're not going to have that visual presence, because again, instead of using the foundation as a retaining wall, we're going to take the retaining wall, move it back a little bit, so that we can push the structure down a little bit, so you're not going to, it's not going to be as high from a visual standpoint, but same features would.
So it's smaller by more than 50% then? You know, you're eliminating the second floor, right?
Eliminating the second floor, but I think we had an 18,000 square foot footprint. We may stretch it a little bit, maybe go to 21. So overall, the structure.
So it's not a total shrink, in
We're gonna
every dimension?
Yeah, we're going to stretch it a little bit, but square footage wise, you're going to be less.
Right. So I'm going to talk through this, but it's going to be stream of consciousness, so if I make a mistake, it's possible I'll make mistakes. So my understanding is you're coming because you want to start on the retaining wall. You're going to submit next month with plans that show the new revised building with the retaining wall on it. And you're asking right now to start construction on the retaining wall. Okay, so you're not just asking for us to set a public hearing to move things along, you're asking us to actually allow you to start construction?
If whatever process the board feels is required to allow that construction to begin, and we're only here saying that is because, you know, work-wise, the applicant does a lot of work with the DOT, and as far as availability for timing and jobs associated with DOT, we're looking a little light in the fall season, so he wanted to keep his laborers working throughout the fall period. So there was the hope that maybe we could hop over to the site and look at installing that wall while we work through the amended site plan process, which from a disturbance standpoint and construction standpoint will be less than originally approved.
So now I'm going to look at Jackie. Is the current site plan that we have signed?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, everything's signed. Okay, so you're amending the current site plan. So it's up to you on whether or not you guys regard this as a minor amendment or a more significant amendment. You do have the power, if you determine that it's a minor amendment, to waive a public hearing. But we did have folks that came out on the retaining wall last time, and then we removed that retaining wall. So I'm just reminding you of that. And then I guess maybe we'll tackle that first, and then we can go to the next issue, maybe one issue at a time.
Current site plan not have a retaining wall?
Or the current site plan does not have a retaining wall. They removed the retaining wall, and they just kind of graded out the back and removed.
Well, they used the second story.
Right.
The construction was 2-story, so the basic foundation was going to be the retainage.
Right. So
what you're going to replace now to put a wall.
Yeah, and our foundation walls were 12 feet high, right? So that's how we use that building as a retaining wall. Now with this latest layout, with revising and lessening the square footage, again, parking gets reduced, things like that. So your area kind of shrinks, you know, your infrastructure it shrinks. So therefore, you know, originally when we came into the board, we had like these 20-foot walls, 18-foot walls. But now with this, the way we're reconfiguring the site, again, a lot of this is finance-based, is we're going to use those smaller Unilock retaining wall blocks, and then it'll be along the back side of the property. It'll be right where our grading was shown previously, and we're looking at, you know, a 9-foot wall plus or minus, but it's going to be at the toe of that slope, you know, that we've always had, and the landscaping and the agreements that we've made with neighbors would hold, and fencing requirements and fall prevention, things like that would, you know, that we've talked about with our other 3 site plan approvals, would be incorporated into this.
So there's no way to just give them an approval based on this information just for the wall or the beginnings of the wall?
Excuse me, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Would you come to the mic, please? Thank you.
Pat Gigliotti, one of the owners. Basically, what we're looking for is, like he was saying, the the building itself is the retaining wall. Then on the sides, we had retaining walls to get inside the building. We like to get those retaining walls pushed out and then the back wall pushed out. At this time, I'm only looking for the wall itself. That's it. Everything else we're going to come back for, and, whatever we have to do to, downsize the building. The footprint will be a little bit bigger, but the square footage is going to drop from 36,000 to about 21,000. But we could have discussions with that, public hearings for that if we had to. I'm just looking for that wall at this time.
So it's kind of along the lines of your first submission, not to get off on a tangent, but when you originally brought this to us, I think the original plan was for a one-story, right? And then we came back, you did a two-story, right?
That is correct.
I guess my question would only be, is if he's looking just to start that, wall project based on its original approvals, is there any way to do that, or are we overstepping any kind of boundaries?
I can't remember if we ultimately signed that original site plan or not, but Jackie's nodding to say, yes, we did. So he did get it originally approved, but now he's got a completely different approval. So technically, he would have to amend the site plan to do it again, even though he did at one point receive an approval for something that's very similar to what he's proposing right now.
But you don't have anything to submit based on what you're asking for right now. You understand what I'm saying? And this is just a simple question, like today you're coming to amend this wall structure or change that, so you have no submission to show us how it would vary.
So we put together a sketch wall plan that shows just the basic outline and the material of it. It shows a conceptual footprint of the building. I don't know if I can turn this on, I'll show you. But it's a light version of...
He's asking you to speak into the microphone. I'm sorry, he keeps popping out. And I guess the other question I have, has there been any grading done there as we're speaking?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've some sort of, yeah, there has been.
Yeah, it's a mess right now.
Is the first floor elevation held, or is that being adjusted, or you don't know yet?
We're going to adjust it slightly, so if you go out there now and you see existing grade, we're actually going to be bringing it up slightly. So I think if you go out there, right, Pat, you can speak to this, but we'll be bringing the grade up slightly where the building's going to be sitting, and basically the material that the wall is going to retain, we're going to peel that back. I mean, the site was always balanced from a cut fill standpoint, so we're basically going to be taking some of the material from that hillside and wrapping it around where the building's going to go.
And I guess the other question I would have is the building that's been approved and now this wall replacement, is it the same perimeter diameter like of what you would have been utilizing prior to?
It's very similar, just going to be moved back, because when we come back to the board to show the actual plan of the building's in the same spot. It's just going to, now being a one-story, instead of the building, it's probably going to drop in elevation probably about 12 feet, because the wall will be back there, and then the building will still be in the same spot, just lower.
And then, but footprint is going to change a little bit.
It'll change a little bit.
Okay.
Square footage will also change.
Yeah,
but the
because
footprint will also change,
dimensions,
because it's only going to be like a 21,000 square foot building instead of 36.
And what would you say approximately height difference from now the two-story down to the one-story?
Of the building?
Yeah.
I would say approximately 12 feet difference.
Okay.
It'll be lower. It's going to sit in there much nicer.
Okay.
If you can see this, so this, it's a very similar shape to the building that we had before. It's just the base is a little bit larger. But, same configuration, almost the same location as our previous approval. And again, that heavy dashed line around the back, if I can point to it. I don't know if I can see it there. I don't know if you can see the arrow, but it's this thicker line here. We always had this grading coming down here, this slope coming down from the neighbor's property. Again, fence on top of the wall, plantings along the slope, and then coordinating any kind of vegetation improvement with the neighbors, both east and north of the site. Those are those would be carried over and incorporated into our site plan, but, you know, the wall location is very similar to where we were in our first go-around, and we're talking about a height of about 9 feet.
And we had some fencing requirements as well, as I recall. So you're going to do the same thing here with this?
So the berm, the fencing, the plantings, all that's going to stay?
All that carries over.
So since it's a one-story building now, you don't need to have the drive coming up around the back anymore either?
It's going to be flat. Right.
So there's still going to be you know, for lack of a better word, a road around the building?
Yeah, fire access.
360, we same.
Just much lower now. You'll be driving.
Right.
Actually, anybody around it won't even, I don't want to say not see the building, but the building's going to sit down where really when you pull into the project off of 216, that's the visual effect. Instead of the big building sitting up 2 stories and climbing up, we're going to stay low, thus moving the wall from as the building back to as a retaining wall.
So I guess the basic question we're back to is there a simple way to articulate this from what its original approval has been?
For just the wall.
For just the wall.
Nothing else.
Or can we permit it with the developer being at risk, depending on comments that may come from our engineers?
And our ARC, ultimately.
And our ARC.
Because, I mean,
And our fire advisory.
The ARC won't approve the wall, but they'll approve the building.
Right.
And if they were to make any changes to the building, that would require them to change any of the, I'm not saying this is going to happen, I'm just saying if they were, then they would be at risk.
When we do change the building, we'll go back to the ARP.
From the original plan, again, I'm just going to ask one more question. I know that the one part was going to be retained by the building itself. Had you had any other plan with wall in it this is just going to be similar to?
Well, you also had
First plan had a 12-foot wall.
Yeah.
the wall came out like this off the building and down here like this on what we have right now. So you'd be driving up like this. I'd like to move this wall that was attached to this building and move that out here. So that's thus lowering the whole project.
Right. But anything pertaining to a wall prior to, was it the same construction? Like, was it all the same block or?
So the original approval was higher and bigger block.
Yes.
Whereas this is.
And that's because it's a smaller wall.
Right, it was a gravity-based wall, right, so they had the big
Okay,
blocks.
yes.
These are going to be the smaller units with a geogrid.
Okay.
So, other questions or comments?
Yeah, I know you're early in this, but just for consideration as you go forward, I have concerns about a wood-framed storage building. Given what transpired in Wappingers just a couple of weeks ago, not knowing what people are storing these, now the building isn't just a shell for a fire, it now becomes part of the fire load. So consider whatever active fire protection or anything in there, because we have no idea what people are storing in these, and they do start fires.
Right now, we're doing a study. If I could hook up to the sewer, it probably will not be a storage building. That's why if I could put this wall in and grade the property up, we're going to come back to the board and show exactly what we're going to have here, which is this, but I don't think it's going to be a storage building. I can't answer that yet until I see what we have as far as sewer is concerned. At first, we thought we were going to get sewer there with the whole montage thing, but I don't think that's panning out, so the storage building was our only option. So I'm pursuing hopefully another option, but I like to put the wall in first, so I can grade the whole property up, the wall, and it's still going to be a building like that. What is it going to be? I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Makes sense.
But that's going to be for another time, in a couple months, when we see what we're doing with the sewer. We're going to come back to the board and show this, the one-story building. But it would, if I did do a storage unit, it would not be a wood structure. I agree with you.
Thanks.
Okay, so are there any objections by board members to approve the wall? Again, with the construction of that wall being totally at the risk of the developer, should there be comments that come back from our engineers that require something different, that you're at risk?
Or even back from the board if the use of the building changes, right?
We have to come back for all.
Yeah, yeah.
The worst case scenario, I build the wall, it looks beautiful, and we plant grass.
Right.
Or if someone from,
But I kept my guys going for about a month and a half.
or if someone from the public weighs in and has
Yes.
issues with it.
Yes.
Sure.
Because that's the biggest thing, because we did have public weigh-in. So, I mean, and again, we were just saying that if you come before us, obviously, to get new approvals on a new building, public weighs in and then there's issues with the wall. The discussion here is that it would become your responsibility to make the changes necessary.
Understandable.
Okay. Any objections? So how do we form that in the form of a motion? Anybody want to?
And just before we do, they still have to get a building permit for that wall, engineer design.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
And we should see the grading plan. Make sure it works.
So can I have a motion to approve the wall only, with the construction of that wall being totally at the risk of the developer in the event that, for any reason, it's not subsequently approved? Do I need to add anything else to that?
I don't think so.
Counsel?
I mean, I
Pardon me?
think that's about
Okay.
all you can say.
It's not a future submission.
Even if there's a future submission, he said he'll have a wall and no building. So,
Is that technically amending
I'm
the
willing to take
site
that risk,
plan?
only because I do know this will be a
Amending
much
the site
nicer
plan?
complex, so I'm willing to take that
Yeah,
risk.
but we don't
Got it.
have an amended site plan.
Absolutely.
Any-
Amending the amended site plan?
concerns?
Just wondering procedurally what we're supposed to do. If we're, it's because we're technically amending an amended site plan, right?
Well, you could do a minor
No,
amendment.
we're allowing the
You could do
construction.
a
of the
minor
wall.
amendment, though subject, still at their own risk, though.
But the
This
construction of
is
the
all
wall
at their
is
risk. I don't
not.
think we're just permitting them to construct a wall at their risk.
But a wall has to be on a site plan. That's the problem. So I think that's what Sarah's saying. She's saying that technically you have to, usually you have a drawing that shows
We
the
have a
wall.
drawing, right? We have that drawing.
So I guess what you're doing is you're technically amending the site plan for that drawing.
Okay, all right. So the motion is
To amend the site
to amend
plan
the site plan
to allow the wall.
to permit only the construction of the wall at the risk of the developer, at his sole risk.
And based on them getting a building permit and meeting all the necessary requirements for the building department.
Okay? So do we have, we'll call that the motion, if you got all that. Could I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Approved. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Look at the next one. Be right out.
Okay, last item on the agenda is Firis Bridges subdivision. It's a request for a 3-month extension for the approved subdivision plat. Do we know the reason or where they are in their overall process here at all?
And we didn't give them an extension already?
We did give them an extension. Are they still waiting for health department? Because that's what I wrote
Oh, I'm
in here.
sorry.
not sure if that's-
Brian, this is yours?
We have health department.
You have health department.
We thought you were
Making
done.
the assumption that you were still waiting on health department.
No, we have health department approval. The applicant is working with the engineering department specific to a swale that has to be installed. And I think we're getting close after a couple iterations, but I just need a little bit more time to complete that and to make sure that Michael Cunningham's okay with the easements and things like that. So, I mean, it's really just taking care of that swale, which I think we're closer.
It's progressing, yes, it's progressing.
Okay.
Is that
All right.
part of the correcting the encroachments in the right-of-way, that swale? Okay, okay. I just want to make sure that covers it, what we wrote in there.
Yeah, I think we wanted the swale complete before we filed the map, and it
Right.
just took a little
So
longer than we thought.
So John, you're striking the second whereas clause?
I beg your pardon?
You're striking the second whereas clause?
Number 2.
Number 2.
Tell you what, why have I lost that particular item?
Here you go.
Thank you. All right, thanks very much. Name of subdivision plan, Firas Bridges subdivision, 3 lots, name of applicant, Firas Bridges, location, 520 Eater Road. Resolution offered by Planning Board member John Eichman. Whereas the Firas Bridges subdivision was granted final approval for a 3-lot subdivision on April 18th, 2023, and was granted a 3-month extension through July 18th, 2024, with an additional 30 days through August 18th, 2024, contingent upon the applicant providing a plan to the town engineer that satisfactorily addresses and corrects the existing encroachments on the town right-of-way by the applicant. And whereas the applicant is awaiting approval from the Department of Behavioral
The one that's struck.
and Community Health, we strike that particular paragraph. Whereas the applicant is requesting an additional 3-month extension through November 18th, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby extends final subdivision approval through November 18th, 2024 for the above project as represented on a map entitled Bridges Subdivision prepared by Dan Stakos Engineering PC dated May 23rd, 2022 and last revised March 30th, 2023 subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the submission of a plan to the town engineer that satisfactorily addresses and corrects the existing encroachments in the town right-of-way, and number 2, all conditions contained in the original resolution of subdivision approval dated 4/18/23 must be met, and number 3, recreation fees in the amount of $12,500 due to the town of East Fishkill prior to the signing of the subdivision plat in final form by the duly authorized officer of the East Fishkill Planning Board, and number 4, the applicant addresses the comments in 2/15/24 memorandum from the town engineer to the satisfaction of the town engineer.
Just one second. Brian, is there any later dated plan that I didn't reference here? The last one we have is last revised March 30th, 2023. Is there a new plan date?
Yeah, there is. There's a July revision. I'll get that to you tomorrow.
Perfect, okay. So subject to the date of that July revision.
Yeah, and that July revision has the swale improvement that we just spoke about.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so with that change, be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the planning board shall cause a copy of this resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and we'll do a roll call vote. Ed Miyoshi?
Aye.
Sarah Bledsoe?
Aye.
Richard Campbell?
Aye.
Donald Pepe? John Greenan?
Aye.
John Giovanoli? And John Eichman? I'm an aye.
Thank you.
It's done. You bet. Thank you. If there's no further business to be brought before this planning board, and I don't see any, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.